This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Greetings, Dogpound Nation. Welcome to the Two Green Browns podcast, now part of Big Heads Media Podcast Network, with myself, John Cahill, and my good friend and fellow Irish Browns fan, Neil Dunworth. Neil, how are you today?
I'm doing okay. That game last night was a bit testing, all right, but as always, I won't say as always, but I definitely saw an awful lot of positives out of it. I'm not as down on my luck with regards to it as everything else. Actually, I think luck had a lot to do with it. The fact that the Browns couldn't buy any good luck last night, and they couldn't buy any good favour from the officials. Like, no matter what anybody says, if a ball bounces off the wide receiver's hands into a cornerback's hands, there's a hell of an element of luck in that. And look, we just came out on the wrong side of it, but definitely stuff to build on. Would have loved to have the win, but I'm sure Russell Wilson is sitting at home today going, how in the name of Jesus did we win that game? Because,
Yeah, it was an interesting one, I suppose. We'll get on to the offense first of all, I suppose. A difficult game to analyze, Neil, as in the fact that the Browns played quite well. A different feeling this morning from me than, say, when you get shellacked by someone like the 49ers and there's no positives really to take out a game. The offensive side of the ball, first quarter and into the second half, we were rolling. The ball was moving well. Odell and Baker Mayfield still not 100% on the same page by the looks of it. But a lot of positives there. Ball moved well, and things were happening in the first quarter and to the end of the first half there on offense.
I think so, yeah. I think when, like, I texted you and I said, Jesus, Baker is doing everything people wanted him to do. This offense is doing everything people wanted to do. Quicker, shorter throws, rhythm throws to OBJ. Did drop 2 early on, but he still went over 100 yards for the game. You know what I liked about OBJ? I saw something that I haven't really seen before, and I haven't, it was quite an intelligent thing whereby on the first interception that Baker threw, OBJ let the cornerback get up, punched the ball out, and retrieved it again. And in real time play, I went, "Oh my God, he's after forcing a fumble and recovering the ball." I thought that was quite intelligent. It's just something I thought I wanted to bring up because obviously, he gave himself up. The cornerback gave himself up, but then got to his feet and tried to move forward. So he did. I thought he did give himself up on replay, but it was it just goes to show how kind of intelligent OBJ is. He's not just he's always thinking. Like, he was going to touch him when he was on the ground, and he stepped back. The cornerback gets up, punched the ball out, retrieved it again. I thought that was quite cool. But OBJ was good. Yes, he could have turned 102 or 102 yard night into like almost a 200-yard night with those 2 catches, because one of them he was pretty free and he just dropped it. He was kind of behind the man and he had open field in front of him. And then the other one, they were both concentration drops. And he doesn't drop stuff. You see him on the jugs machine. He doesn't drop stuff because his hands aren't good. He drops stuff when he's not concentrating. But thought he went well. I thought Jarvis, one of the best throws, actually the best throw that Baker Mayfield is thrown this year is that throw to Jarvis Landry, that 27-yard pickup in the first quarter. He was just so assured, so calm in the pocket, stood up and threw an absolute laser to Landry. I think OBJ might have been running free on the outside, but it didn't really matter. That throw was just all the confidence in the world that Baker holds, and it was a beautiful throw. I thought Landry played pretty well. Very, very harshly done by for that block, that blindside block, which actually I'm not even going to say it was harshly done by. It was a fuck up by the refs, because it clearly wasn't. It was your textbook block, and as everyone said after looking at the replay, the contact was initiated by Marquise Blair. So it was a shocking decision, and that held an awful lot of weight within the result, because Nick Chubb had got to almost back to the line of scrimmage, or back to the first down marker there, and that was just an egregious call, just a poor call, and there was nothing Jarvis Landry could have done about it there. other wide receiver kind of situations with regards to that, with regards to the game. Callaway had a drop early on, ran a couple of routes, did a lot of blocking. I saw Callaway do a lot of blocking in the game as well, but didn't get free as much as he could. But Rashard Higgins wasn't to be seen at all. He mentioned to Justine Anderson afterwards. I think I saw a tweet from her to say that he had no idea why he wasn't playing. But look, I would have liked to have seen him out there, but if your knee ain't right, your knee ain't right. But then again, why have him active? And why not have Damien Ratley active? That was a bit of a strange one for me. If you're not going to use him at all, Ratley might have been a better option, even though Ratley, has had these drops recently. But yeah, offensively, from the wide receiver point of view, I really, really liked what I saw. And I liked what I saw from the tight ends as well. I don't think they were anywhere near the hindrance that they were the week before.
I think basic on the offensive side of the ball, I think Ricky Seals-Jones had a decent game. Good touchdown, good catch. Looked pretty visible. Demetrius Harris getting up and catching his 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
So on the offensive side of the ball, I suppose we haven't touched on yet, is the O-line. So the tight ends weren't as visible in the blocking game as had been required in the last few games. Now, I personally think a lot of this to do with the fact that the Seahawks don't really have that ability to bring the horses as other teams like 49ers say, the front four of the 49ers. The Seahawks don't really have anything there other than Jadeveon Clowney, who, got a little bit of pressure on, but not a whole lot. Robinson and Hubbard again looking like the weak links on the offensive end of the ball, on the line, really looking quite soft at the tackles. Couple of unnecessary fouls again, and it didn't look great at times. But in saying that, the net effect of that wasn't affecting Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield had all day to stand in the pocket and throw the ball. He was under very little pressure for most of the game. Running back Neil, Chubb again with a fantastic display. Hilliard Hilliard didn't cover himself in glory today. Yesterday,
he had a great return. He had a great return to give us brilliant field possession from the first, or field position, should I say, from the first run. But he's very much a third running back or fourth running back, because he can't pass block. He dropped, he should not be dropping that ball. And if he's your change of pace back, if he's your Duke Johnson Light or whatever you want to call him, he can't drop that ball. And that for me is huge. He doesn't pass block, and if he's going to start dropping balls and creating interceptions like that, Kareem Hunt is coming back, and Kareem Hunt is going to have to take somebody's position. He's definitely going to take Hilliard's reps in-game reps and so on. But yeah, he's like, for me, himself and Chris Hubbard were just two people that I kind of just sighed and I went, look, they're the ones. There were two weak links, I thought, tonight from that point of view. But look, Hilliard is, we wouldn't have expected him to be a second running back at the start of the year. So, he's maybe getting a small bit more touches than he should be. But look, he can, like this and everything else, he had a poor game last night. He could have a very good game the next day. If he catches that ball, I'm not talking about him in a negative light, but it was just such an egregious drop that, he has to take the full brunt of that. He has to take full brunt of the criticism for that. Nick Chubb is an absolute star. Like I said the last day, I looked at his runs, and a lot of his runs were up the gut, and he didn't push any out to the side, but he started to push stuff out to the side when it wasn't happening, and he started to push them out to the side, and he got some purchase on those ones when he went out wide. Now we didn't have the two wide receiver or the two tight end sets in there, and he was still able to get out there and get into some fresh grass and run up. But he's so good. Nick Chubb is so good, and he's such a good pass blocker as well. That he's our star. He is our absolute star there. But it would be interesting. And on the running back, guys, mentioned about Kareem Hunt. He's back soon. And, we're not going to want to take Chubb off the field, but Kareem Hunt can block, so it's going to be a nice little dynamic there. Do we play two running backs, two tight ends? Do we play, there could be some wacky formations that we could play here with Kareem Hunt in there. Even if we're not giving him runs and stuff like that, he is one of the best pass catching backs in the league. He can run, he can pass back, he can do everything. So it's going to be really interesting when you get somebody like that in with fresh bones in alongside Nick Chubb. It's going to be fantastic.
Just to bring it back now briefly to the interceptions. I suppose as part of the overall story of the game, the interceptions really killed the game. Really, so the Seahawks returned our interceptions and our blocked field goal for a total of 17 points.
17 points, yeah.
So that really is the overarching story of the game. Let's just talk briefly about the interception. So our first interception, we have two of our wide receivers crossing up on a route, and the ball going straight to can't remember who it was, one of the Seahawks DBs. The second interception was tip ball into the end zone. Jarvis got his hands to it, but just that the ball had been tipped, he wasn't getting back for it. And then the third interception, which finished off the game. And like, to be fair, all these interceptions were big moments in the game. There was nothing we got away. We didn't get away with anything. We were punished for all of them. And the final interception off Hilliard's hands really should have been caught, finishing off the game really as a contest.
The block punt as well.
The block punt, it was a strange one. It ended up two Seahawks on, was it Eric Murray?
Yeah,
and
Murray
then
was
someone
very exposed,
and one guy just broke straight through. These things don't happen very often, but it's just something that did happen. I think it was a field goal, the return, but they got from that. So just on that, Neil, where, just to finish up where we are on offense, Baker Mayfield. I actually think Baker had an all right game. I think he played an all right game. I think he played most of the game with a bit of an injury in the second half with that hip injury that he seemed to have been carrying. I don't think he was put under a lot of pressure by the Seahawks. Maybe could have done a bit better. The first interception, I'm not that sure on what actually happened on the route. There was some mess up with wide receivers running routes there. The second one, as I said, was tipped. I also, that play to me really, they really need to address what they're doing coming into half time and regards to time management and clock management. What's going to happen there? I think a few more Nick Chubb runs there before you get a bit closer to the goal line, just to run the clock down a little bit, so that the opposition team aren't coming and stuffing one down our necks when we mess it up, exactly what happened last week against the 49ers. So where do you stand with the interceptions, Neil? What the turnovers really, I suppose, has been the critical point of the game?
Yeah, I thought the throw to Jarvis Landry was actually a good throw. I thought it was a good throw, but it was well defended. Griffin did a really good job of defending it. And as I say, if you're to play all these downs again, where Boy Baker has had the receptions, I think 6 of them have been 6. No, I could be wrong, and I think 6 interceptions may not have been his fault over the course of the game so far this year. But if you replay those bobbled receptions that go into the DB's hands, sometimes there's absolutely no way that ever happens again. It's just freakish moments. I think the Dontrell Hilliard one there, I don't think that if you were to throw that exact same pass again, that happens, maybe 1 in every 50 times, 1 in every 100 times. It's going to be very rare. That Antonio Callaway one probably never happens again. The one against the 49ers never happens again. That Jarvis Landry one potentially could. It was good coverage. It was a good throw. I like the throw. But I like the throw. Don't like the timing that it was done at. I don't like the fact that it was snapped at 25 seconds. A lot of people have mentioned that. That for me is crazy, especially when we're in control of the game. Even if you run the ball and you don't get it, you kick a field goal. You're up by 11, and then you're going into the half. Even though they're getting the ball back, you're going into the half not being at a dangerous position of going down and going behind after the first play of the second half. And what you actually almost do is, by kicking that field goal, is you negate the fact that they're getting the ball and they have the possession in the second half, which is why teams take it in the second half, so that they can develop momentum. But if you're up by 11 points as opposed to only being up by 2 points going in, then that's going to make it a world of difference. So there was, I don't know where the exuberance came from. I'd love to know who called that. I know Freddie Kitchen said that he was the one, he put it on himself, saying that he wanted to throw a touchdown. and then try and get the ball back, and then try and maybe kick a field goal all in the space of 96 seconds. Maybe so. It's a new way of thinking for me. But I think when you're up, that you have what you hold and you play it tight, and you don't give them any opportunity to come back. I do like the aggression in it, and he was aggressive throughout. Remember, he went in a 4-7. He went for it in 4-7 down in there 34, which I think was a great call, because you can't punt the ball from there. You can't punt the ball from there at all. And even if you do, and it goes into the end zone, you're still coming out at, the ball is still coming back against you. So I think that was a great call, and we got it. I think we were 2 for 2 and 4th down conversions for the night. But yeah, the aggression I thought was misplaced in that instance, especially with snapping the ball with 25 seconds to go. You run down the clock. In that case, you're the master of your own destiny from that one. The third interception, as I said about Hilliard's one, was egregious. I just think that it was just 100% on him. You have to catch that.
Well, that's it. And I suppose overall on the offense, some positives, some negatives, lots to work on. And we'll look forward to see what the bye week and the break brings. So if you don't mind, we'll hand you over to our partners in Big Heads Media for a brief moment, and after we listen to their promotion, we will be straight back to you with a breakdown of the defense from yesterday's game.
Hi there. Sean, Steve, Alex, and Jamal here from the Hogs Die podcast.
For the past 5 years, we brought the latest news, hottest scoops, and the best interviews with players and beat reporters to the Redskins fans across the globe.
No matter your Redskins interest, we've got no shortage of great content for you.
Check us out on thehogsdie.com, bigheadsmedia.com, and all major podcast platforms.
So, Neil, the defense, again, not a whole lot to write home about. Got home with 3 sacks, three sacks, 2 for Garrett and 1 for Randall, I believe. We gave up. I think we appear to give up Jaron Brown. I think, and like we locked down, not locked down, but Lockett and Metcalf were pretty much held in check for most of the game, and we appear to give up Jaron Brown over the middle of the field, really, I suppose, in the backfield. Not a terrible performance, but not. Russell Wilson had a lot of time, and when he got out of the pocket, made a lot of plays.
He did. I thought we got a lot of pressure on him. I thought our ends played very well. I thought Olivia Vernon had one of his better games, forced fumble. And I thought he played well. I thought he was pretty good. I thought Ogunjobi was pretty lost today. Sheldon Richardson had one or two good tackles, but overall you expect more from him with his experience. But Russell Wilson, he had a bit of time when he needed it. That first touchdown run when he ran it in that was like a college type touchdown. He had all the time in the world to kind of run it in, and he looked and he surveyed it, and next thing just sauntered into the end zone. There was a bit on that. I'm not quite sure where our safeties were on that one. So from that standpoint, I think Russell Wilson will wake up today and know he was in the game. Myles Garrett got his 2 sacks, should have had a third one. I actually never got to see the replay to see was he actually offside on that one where he drilled Russell Wilson, but it was a 10-yard penalty for him. I'd love to see that one again to see if I think that might have been one of those ones whereby Myles Garrett being so good got a penalty against him, and the refs, judgment call and so on. He can't be in the backfield that quickly. It must be offside, but I'd love to see it again. Thought he was pretty good, Myles Garrett, in every facet of the game today. But yeah, Russell Wilson is just Russell Wilson. He's very good. He is the best. It's been said numerous times by numerous different people. He is the best quarterback in the NFL this year, and he will know he's been in a game. And he didn't exactly carve us apart either. Like you look at it, you look at the box scores for yesterday. It was quite even across a lot of different areas. Like, yeah, he threw for 295 yards. That's Russell Wilson. That's what he does for you. Rushing was 170 yards. I would like not to give up that many yards in the rushing game. I don't mind him throwing for 295 yards, but I do mind the fact that we gave up 170 in rushing. Chris Carson for me doesn't have any pace. He just looks like he just kind of, I don't know what it is. It's like as if he's just so big people are afraid to tackle him. I don't know.
Yeah, he was making guys miss yesterday. Definitely something I noticed, that I would have always had Carson pegged as a guy that ran north south downhill pretty good. But he showed a bit of wiggle yesterday, and he got away from a couple of tackles, and definitely extended plays. Wilson especially extended plays once he gets out of the pocket. He is excellent, and to be fair, he did have a good game. I see our tackle leaders yesterday were Jermaine Whitehead and TJ Carey. Interesting game from Whitehead again.
Yeah, and they're two players that you gotta love their hustle. You really do. But yeah, interesting game from Whitehead, as you say, and TJ Carey, interesting game from him as well. But look, the stats are there. They had a hell of a lot of tackles, like all Justin Whitehead's ones were solo ones. There was no tackles for loss. TJ Carey had 3 tackles for loss yesterday, which isn't bad. Which really isn't bad. I'm just certainly not. I would love to. I can't wait to get one of the guys back, because he's not a bad cornerback at all, but he'd be way better inside, dealing with people inside as opposed to on the sideline. He tries to use the sideline as an extra defender too much and gives up too much space, and he's too soft in his coverages, and he knows he should be using it as an extra defender, but maybe he isn't close enough to the receiver to do that in the first place. But yeah, look, as I say, I'm looking forward to seeing him go back inside and maybe getting Denzel or Greedy out there on the outside. But yeah, there was a lot of missed tackles yesterday, by a lot of people.
Do you think Denzel and Greedy, whilst obviously they're great players and all that we've been missing them, like to me it hasn't seemed apparent that we missed them terribly badly. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in, now I'm not saying I'll have them back in the morning, but what I'm saying is, like, the drop off to what Mitchell and Carey have played in the last few games, and say the areas where we've been getting punished, hasn't necessarily been out wide. It hasn't necessarily, there's no one really punished us in the air out wide. We're getting more so punished across the middle and more so punished in the run game.
Exactly, and that's why you need Carey inside. But when you think about it this way, TJ Carey has more games played than Greedy and Denzel have played together. So you should expect, like, I would expect TJ Carey to be very, very dependable and solid, and I'd expect Mitchell to be pretty dependable and solid in while we're missing our 2 guys. But the speed factor that the two of those guys bring, and the interceptions that I would hope both of those would bring, would maybe, like, that route to Jaron Brown, the touchdown, the first touchdown that he had, that fade route into the back of the end zone. I'd like to think if Greedy was on him there, that Greedy would be maybe a small bit closer. He would have seen it a small bit better. He's just a small bit more agile. He might have got a hand in there as well, and it might have even, like, Russell might have looked at it and gone, right, I don't think I'm comfortable trying this there because of Denzel or Greedy. But look, if this is all hypothetical shit, so, but I think, yes, we have to give them very much so a round of applause, TJ Carey and Mitchell, and for what they're doing, at the moment. But you are right, our safety positions are more of the concern, I think, at the moment, and that's why getting TJ Carey in there to play the slot corner, as opposed to having maybe an extra safety on the field, might be a small bit more beneficial. But obviously, to have the option to rotate it around is what I'm saying. I think Whitehead has done some very good things. I think Whitehead is, he's shown there's been a couple of busted coverages and stuff, but that's going to happen to everybody. He had 9 tackles, 9 solo tackles yesterday, so he didn't exactly have a poor game yesterday. But I just like to see the options. This is what it is, to have those options, keep people fresh. And you have one first round pick and one person who probably should have been a first round pick, to come back. So it's all rosy from there. I think that's
Whitehead has been real Jekyll and Hyde player for me this year. He's having bonehead plays in a lot of games and then coming back out and being solid in other games. Like, so it's very difficult. It's very difficult to legislate for that kind of play. So I suppose really for the defense, it's onwards and upwards for the coming weeks, and they'll find things start to flatten out for them a little bit after the Patriots. Things will start to look a little bit more manageable, I think, schedule-wise anyway.
I think one of the biggest people who has the most to gain from this 2-week break that we have now is Mac Wilson. Tidying up his, I suppose, where he should be, his positional sense within the field, tidying that up, being only one of two linebackers that are going to be in there. I think that's going to really help him. Like, I wasn't exactly blown away with him tonight, but he didn't do anything that was massively egregious either. But I would like to see him. Like, the talent is there; you can absolutely see it. Himself and Taki have probably, for me, got the most to gain from anybody within that defensive unit, because they're going to be needed. They're going to 100% be needed, and they're going to need to step up. I don't think anybody envisaged Mac Wilson anyway getting this much game time so quickly. So this is going to be like manna to heaven for him. He's heading the playbook. I wouldn't even leave the facility. There's a lot of pressure on him. There's a load of pressure on him to perform, because you can't just go in there with only just one linebacker. It just needs to happen for him. And hopefully it does.
Yeah. We leave the defense there now. We'll head on to special teams. Special teams started off with a great return from Hilliard on the kickoff. I suppose that being the highlight, and the low light then the punt block. As again, I'm going to have to get a better mind than me to explain to me how they get a guy come free.
Yeah.
On that line. Again, not something I'm very familiar with, but whatever scheme they put in there, they ended up with two guys running at one of our guys, and they only able to block one, so someone got free. And I suppose there wasn't a whole lot really to write home about special teams. Seibert missed the PAT, but it looked very swirly down the bottom there. I think the Seahawks missed the PAT as well, I think, from the same end.
They did look, and I know they missed one as well, but just focusing on our own team, Seibert kicks that, and we're down 3 points going into that Baker drive. All these little things add up is what I'm trying to say here now. That at the time it wasn't a massive thing, but when we look back at the end of the game, we're going, Jesus, if it was only 3, that affects the play calling that Freddie can have, because he has to go for a touchdown. That one where Baker's throwing the ball around, Hilliard's interception. If we were in a situation that maybe we could have ran the ball a small bit more there, getting within field goal range, should I say, cross our fingers and hope that it goes over. I think everybody might feel a small bit more confident about the whole situation there, but we didn't have that opportunity to kick that field goal. And it comes back as well, again, to the fact that we didn't kick the field goal at the end of the half either. Even if we don't kick if we kick that field goal at the end of the half, we go in up 11 points. And let's just say they do come out and they do get that extra touchdown that they got before halftime. We're still only down 1 point, so we can still move the ball in a way to get us within field goal range to win the game. So it's all these ifs and buts because the game was so close, and it was a close game. And let's not take it away. These guys are contenders. They're 5-1. So somebody said beforehand, they're probably the worst 4-1 team that are still left, but they're 5-1. So now they're a juggernaut. It would be absolutely amazing if they didn't make the playoffs. And they're playing well. They're playing very coherent football. So that's what the Browns need to do, especially on special teams. We need to kick our field goals when we get the opportunity, especially when we're winning, because coming down into the red zone isn't a given like it was last year. In the red zone last year, we were throwing touchdowns. Baker hadn't thrown an interception in the red zone. He's thrown quite a few this time. Our red zone offense isn't great. If we're up by 8 points, we kick a field goal, we go up by 11. That's the mentality we should have at the moment until we get things clicking again. And not try to force the issue to when there's still a full half of football left.
So just before we finish up, Neil, there's a couple of talking points, and I suppose leading into what you're saying there about decision making. Talk to me a little bit about Freddie. Now, as I said, I would not be one for changing coaches so early in tenures and stuff like that, and you get a lot of because we're on such a bad little run, I suppose you get a lot of calls for Freddie's head and stuff like that. The play calling in certain instances, while it's not being puzzling, it does lead, there is a pattern there. Freddie's aggressive. He's not going to take the field goal. He's going to go with the 4th down. He's going to take that. We know that that's what he is. So when these things don't come off for Freddie, it doesn't help his case, you know. It doesn't help his case when you're trying to defend Freddie as a coach. Like, these things can be quite difficult to defend.
Yeah, they can, but we still don't get rid of him.
Oh no, I'm not suggesting for a second that we do, but as I said, the case for Freddie Kitchens as a coach, you look at the last games of last season, the stretch that we had. You look at the offense that was running and chugging along at the time. You look at the aggression, the aggressive play calling that was there. I said they're the reasons we have him there. They're the reasons. They're most of the positive reasons that most of us as fans wanted him there. But what I'm saying now is that, like, he's going to have to show adaptability. He's going to have to show adaptability, maybe to change, and maybe to think that maybe, like, you know, like taking the field goal, or like not going on the fourth down in certain instances, or not calling the draw play or whatever on the fourth downs, the way it would be the way to go. Like he's sort of, I personally feel like he's leaving himself open for questions with some of the play call.
Oh yeah, and you know, the analogy I use here is that, you know, you marry your wife, you don't live with her, and then next thing you live with her, and the first 5 dinners she makes, she burns the spuds, and then you're going, Jesus, did I make the wrong decision here? I'm marrying this one, she's burning the spuds the whole time, you know. But at the end of the day, you're going, no, I gotta stick with her. The spuds are kind of inconsequential, and she'll learn how to cook spuds, and that's what I think this is. These are basically, it's the cooking of the spuds for Freddie Kitchens at the moment. They're small things. They're big. They're small things, but they are big things in the greater scheme of things. So, like, what I mean is, they're easily rectified. It's just a case of checking himself and moving on. But see, like, the thing for me is that you do see people going, "Oh no, we need to get rid of Freddie now." But why do we need to get rid of Freddie now? Like, the world has become an awful place of whereby you've made a mistake, we've got to cancel your TV show. You've made a mistake, you should never work again. You know, that kind of stuff. It's yeah, for me, I'm not quite sure what to say to people. I'm not going to tell anybody how to be a fan. From me, my own personal side is that, you know, I've no problem with him learning within these first 5 or 6 games, because these are the games that we thought we were going to have a heavy dose of maybe losses within. But I think that if he's still learning in games, as you mentioned in the last podcast, if he's still learning in games against the Dolphins, the Bengals, the Arizona Cardinals, you know, and you know, teams that maybe we should be beating, if he's still learning in those games and making silly decisions that might, you know, keep the game close, or in some instances cost the game, then maybe we might need to kind of discuss this a bit more. But I'm okay with him learning in these games. I'm okay with him. I don't like that was the only really bad call for me that he made. I think as well, he was right to challenge the Jarvis Landry touchdown one, where I said it wasn't a touchdown, because I can't see, there's no angle that will convince me that wasn't a touchdown, considering that they gave Tyler Lockett the touchdown and he was clear. I still think he was clearly down before he broke the plane there. But Jarvis Landry's that came back to bite us as well, because we had no challenges left, you know, for the DK Metcalf catch. It's just, and that's where I came back to at the very start. I said we're unlucky. If we had no luck at all in this game, if we didn't have bad luck, we would have had no luck at all in this game. Because anything that we did correctly, we did of our own volition. We didn't get lucky on anything. There was no times where we looked at it and went, "Oh Jesus, that call shouldn't have gone against us. Or should have gone against us. We should. There's no way we should have got that call." Everything that should have gone against us went against us, and things that shouldn't have gone against us still went against us as well. You know, so, and we still only lost by 4 points.
That is, I suppose, Neil, the last talking point before we finish up today. The officiating was dire. The officiating was terrible, from the goal line debacle to Landry's block backfield, which just clearly wasn't, you know, like it kind of put us on the back foot a little bit. Now, I'd hesitate to say that it cost us the game. I'd stop short of saying that, but definitely put us on the back foot.
I think it did cost us the game. Specifically, I think that Jarvis Landry block, like Nick Chubb had made, I think it was about 14 yards. We were in a comfortable position, getting the ball out from near our own end zone. Another Nick Chubb run gets us our first down. We've got a new set of downs. We can move on from there. Those little things. The Jarvis Landry touchdown was a touchdown. I'm convinced it was a touchdown. There we have our challenge for the DK Metcalf catch that wasn't a catch on the sideline. The clearly was. He bobbled it and waltzed out of, like, yes, he got up, he's 2 feet down, the ball wasn't secured in his hands, he bobbled it and he walked out over the sideline. That was an incomplete pass. You know, things like that. The 1 yard, like Chris Hubbard was, they said, oh, he was less than 1 yard down the field for the ineligible player downfield. Like, that's such a close kind of judgment call. This is a first year officiating team as well, that they said the ref was a first year officiating team, first year ref in the NFL. Like, they're all little things. Those are small little things that kind of just kill the drive. The Myles Garrett third sack, you know, as I said, I'd like to see that again. I didn't think he was offside for it, but once again, he moved so quickly they had to make a call on those. We're going to get a letter to say that Jarvis Landry piece wasn't an actual block, or it wasn't a block in the back, and we're going to get an apology letter. Like, that's all I need. That's
also going to get a letter from the league about Baker commenting on the refs after the game.
Oh, fine, fuck that. He's a first round pick. He's going to make 20 million. They're going to fine him 34,000 or whatever like that. Yeah, pay it. If it means that the refs are better in the future, then so be it. We can't forget that a ref was fired after the Browns game last year. You know, like, refs aren't infallible. If refs make a mistake, they should be fined. They should be suspended. They're only part-timers. I don't care. Everyone says they're only part-timers. I don't give a shit. If you do your job incorrectly, you should be reprimanded for it.
I think one thing about the referees yesterday, and I don't know if anyone else kind of picked up on it, but the referee almost seemed like the head referee almost seemed nervous announcing a call. He seemed completely out of his depth, just like from a sort of a personality point of view. Like, he came across really badly, and that made me question every decision that was coming out of that ref huddle. Every time they came back, he sometimes seemed apologetic, sometimes seemed nervous, like he was afraid. And I think maybe just the atmosphere in First Energy Stadium yesterday might have got to him a little bit. It might have been difficult to manage, you know.
Did he face the wrong way as well when he was given an explanation for a penalty? I thought that was funny.
I didn't see that one.
I don't know whether they need to face the camera and speak it. I think he faced the wrong way as well, or something along those lines for one of those. I think it was actually for the blindside block that he faced the wrong way. Yeah, little things. But look, fuck it. At the end of the day, we can't change it. We can't go back and say, like, the league aren't going to turn around and say, actually, you know what, we'll play that game again because the officiating was so bad. We have lost. It's just, you want to control what you can control. But you kind of want the intangibles, the variables, to kind of be as consistent and as constant as they can. And obviously, when we mean consistency, we mean consistently good and not consistently bad. But it's just one of those things that, you know, it might be something that Browns could use to get their back up and say, well, it is really us against everybody. It's us against the world. I think Jarvis Landry, someone mentioned that in commentary, that as they were coming off the field at halftime, Jarvis said it really is us against the world. It's us against everybody. He mentioned it coming off the field.
I think that's a good mentality for them to foster in this bye week. Anyway, for the bye week for ourselves coming up, we'll try and get you some more interesting content for the week. Anything on the horizon for yourself, Neil, this week? Anything lined up? Just a few interesting and novel guests coming. Nothing to confirm just yet, but
we'll still have our betting preview podcast later on in the week because the NFL doesn't stop. So the guys from one Super Bowl drive will be on again during the week to do a betting preview as well with us. But yeah, as I say, it's going to be an interesting week. I'm actually looking forward to not hearing an awful lot come out of Bury at the moment. I think they need it. I think Freddie needs time to go away and to reconsider, or to not reconsider his thoughts, but, you know, just to kind of recollect himself. I think Baker's going to need time to recollect himself. My biggest thing here is everybody stays out of the media. Nobody fucking bites back on Twitter. Everybody just stays professional and goes about their business. Ideally, you'd like not to have an awful lot of players leave the facility. I don't think they've earned the opportunity to leave the facility. We're too sloppy. If we were losing to teams that were just outright better than us, that's something. But we've been sloppy, and that's what's kind of, and that in instances has been kind of killing us. So everybody kind of stay in their lane, Don't cause unnecessary hassle for this PR team. Don't cause unnecessary hassle for Freddie Kitchens. I'd like John Dorsey's going to come out. I presume he will come out and he'll say something this week before they leave. It'll be interesting just to hear one or two things from him. Hopefully, when we come back from the bye week, that we can integrate players like Rashad Higgins again, Greedy, Denzel, Gennard Avery, try and get him back into the game as well. And I think we're coming close to being able to activate Drew Forbes now as well. I think we should activate him from IR. I think we should get him back training with the team. Because having him there is a hell of a lot better than not having him there, from the point of view that if Kendall Lamb can't suit up, having Drew Forbes there gives you more options, especially if Tris Hubbard is going to have, as many penalties and so on. So there's a couple of things I'm going to be looking out for over the bye week, and it's not anybody being in a spread for GQ or anything like that. I just want people to I just want people just for 1-2 weeks, just please stay and just be quiet. That's what I want. Excellent. I've had enough of it. But I'm not saying that they don't do it. I want them to, I like the Baker adverts and stuff like that. I'm not criticizing him for it. I just think this 2 weeks is the make or break of the season. It should be treated as almost like a mini camp, and we, from a focus point of view, and we just, everybody get back healthy, everybody get back, without having pissed anybody else off, and just, make our own luck from here on in, because we certainly aren't getting it from the football gods or from the referees.
Excellent. And hopefully on the trade front, everything will be pretty quiet, and if something happens, it'll be quick and swift, and there won't be much about it.
I forgot all about that, and I think we could see maybe something.
We could, but hopefully it's all swift and quick and quiet and no messing. But anyhow, that'll do for today's show. Thanks very much for listening. Please pass on the pod to your friends by retweeting. You can rate and review. That'll really help us out. Follow us on Twitter, myself at John Cahill _IRL, and Neil at Jim Custard. And until next time, go Brownies.